fat rate on meat and dairy, but apply the highest fat rate. This will help and reduce meat consumption by 5 or 10%. Here you can see the overview of the different fat rates. And we calculated the results of a fat increase, and you can see that in Europe the meat consumption overall would reduce by 6 kilograms per capita, which is more in line with dietary guidelines, and the beef consumption would go down with 10% and pork and poultry with 8%. So it's a moderate effect, but it's a good effect in line with also the climate goals. So a lot of tax can be generated by this form of taxation, and you can do a lot of things with it. For instance, climate finance for loss and damage fund, hot topic here in Dubai, but it can also be recycled, as I told, to consumers, to reduce prices for other food products and to low-income groups or farmers. This is about the EU ETS proposal. I told that a study was presented 13th November, and most stakeholders who read this report in an inquiry preferred the option that not the farmers should be part of this ETS system, like was proposed in New Zealand and Denmark, but the dairy factories and the slaughterhouses are part of the ETS. So they have to reduce the emissions from the food they sell, and every year the allowed emissions from their companies have to be reduced every year till 2040 and 2050. There's no emissions left, and they have to make sure that their food products are climate neutral in the end. So this means that the greenhouse gas emission price from meat and dairy will increase because of this new system. There are some concerns about this proposal. I had a debate also here in Dubai about carbon pricing in food systems with the global head of sustainability of Unilever, and there are some concerns, but there are also a lot of opportunities with this proposal. So a concern could be that monitoring of these emissions can be complicated because it's CO2, methane and nitrogen dioxide. You have long lead times before this is implemented, and maybe food prices increase, but you can take measures to use the revenues of compensating it to low-income groups. There's another report about this topic, and it showed that when you increase a VAT rate on meat and dairy on the one hand, and on the other hand you have a zero VAT rate on vegetables, fruits, cereals and bread, overall consumers will pay less in the supermarket for their foods. So food can become 10% cheaper overall. And this can be done also by giving food vouchers. You can have a zero VAT rate, but a lot of countries now already apply a system to pay low-income groups food vouchers so they can buy healthy food in the shops because they cannot afford to buy it. And this can be also done with tax revenues from a meat tax, that you pay credits or just payments every month to low-income groups. And this was also calculated in another study, that if you give a lump sum, a payment to the lowest income groups, that's the blue color, that you can see that the inequality in incomes of different kinds of people will reduce, meaning that low-income groups have better financial opportunities. So their position increases when you apply a meat tax and use the revenue to focus on those kind of groups and increase their income. So actually this is really benefiting also the low-income groups. And we hope that political parties who represent low-income groups support this proposal. Yes, the UN Secretary General said we are on a highway to hell, climate hell, and this is also very much true for meat. Meat consumption and production increased in the last 20 years with a factor 1. So it's doubled just in 20 years' time, and it's projected to increase by 50% in 2050. And you know that meat and also dairy have a lot of greenhouse gas emissions. So this is a real problem, and it's undermining all the Paris goals. So everything we do in the energy sector, the housing and industry sector, it's undermined by the increased consumption of meat. And if countries don't want to tax meat, then it's all lost. We cannot realize the Paris climate goals. So I'm really very happy that last week more than 130 countries signed a declaration on food, agriculture and climate. They also signed a declaration on health and climate, and in both declarations they committed to reduce food products with a high climate or health footprint, which means reducing meat. So, and they also promised to report on this every year. So I hope this this message will be heard clear and loud. And as you know, a lot of consumers are waiting for politicians to have the courage to implement this kind of proposals. So we have also developed 5 priorities for 2030. So you can have fiscal incentives, but you can also have regulations and other things you can do to reduce meat consumption. So, but first of all, and this is recognized by a lot of scientists in Europe, that first of all you have to make sure prices are right, because consumers and producers listen to prices. When something is more high in price, then you buy less. So this is really important. So this is the polluter pays principle. It's adopted 50 years ago by OECD countries that this should be the core of environmental policies. But it's implemented in the energy sector, but not in the agriculture and food sector. So this is wrong. So it's now, after 50 years, finally we have to start with doing it. And farmers, food companies or supermarkets should pay for their greenhouse gas emissions, at least €90 per ton, but more is better for positive impact. We also can have import taxes on meat, dairy and soy in Europe, but any other country can also do it to make sure that you don't import too much from those kinds of products. This will also increase prices in supermarkets. Another priority, that if you do this, it should be fair, like in the energy sector. So low-income groups should not be harmed by it. Otherwise, it will not be implemented and there will be a political problem. So you need also a social food and climate fund. So when a government or a EU, for instance, gets revenues from this kind of taxes, a fund should be created to support the lowest income groups and companies who are affected by it. So healthy food credit cards could be given to people to buy the right things, which is healthy and climate friendly. And you can also give subsidies to retail companies and catering companies to make vegetables, fruit, plant-based meat and organic food cheaper. And organic food, especially for beef and dairy products, have a positive climate footprint. So switching to organic dairy production is also very good for our climate. Another priority would be legislation and public procurement. For instance, in the catering sectors where governments have restaurants, they can ask the catering companies to actually implement this through prices. And it's already done in the Netherlands in many catering locations. I had another press conference last week about it. So it can be done, and it has effect that meat consumption in this kind of restaurants is reduced because of this true price on meat, and on the other hand, the lower prices for vegetables and fruits and vegan meals. So then this is this kind of food diet change can be challenged by the right fiscal incentives and price incentives. But legislation is also very important. You can have a directive that it's obligated for meat processors that when they have processed meat, like hamburgers, they have to mix 30% of plant-based proteins in it. It's already done, but if you do it, and it's obligated everywhere, maybe everywhere in the world, then 10% of all greenhouse gas emissions from meat can be reduced just by adding legumes or beans, etc., even rice in the mixed meat products like hamburgers. A last priority is promotion and marketing. Of course, people have to know why this is important, why we should have a different diet with less meat. We don't say don't eat meat anymore, it can help, but reducing meat consumption with 50% already helps so much. So we need to stop meat price marketing. So there can be legislation to that, to forbid it. Some municipalities in the Netherlands already do it. It's taken off the streets. You cannot make marketing for meat products and also for airline tickets. EU restrictions on advertising and promotion subsidies. The EU is even now still giving a lot of subsidies to promote meat consumption. So this has to be changed as well. And environmental labeling can be implemented obligatory, that supermarkets show on the products they sell if the food has a high or a low planet score, eco score. So that people know, okay, this product is good for the planet or the environment and the other one is not. So you are better informed, and then the consumers will also accept that maybe the bad product, so to say, with a negative impact on the planet.
The other option. Sensitive issue. Yeah, I mean, there was a video where it told me,
I really like the name.
yes.